I didn't have no fear in me, and I basically whooped everybody that intended on jumping me. I left without a scratch. And with all
Chrisean
my
Rock.
chains, yeah.
But I mean, you're a gospel singer.
Yeah, but sometimes you have to fight for your life and defend yourself. So I wasn't going to lose my life, so I had to get to my car.
Nobody, and I mean absolutely nobody, expected the words holy hands and primetime news to share the same headline without the universe buffering first. Yet there she was, front and center on CBS News Baltimore, with anchors delivering the story like it was the most normal thing in the world. Meanwhile, the internet collectively blinked twice, refreshed their feeds, and whispered, "Is this satire?" Because when Chrisean Rock goes from viral chaos to faith-focused headlines, that's not just a glow-up, that's a plot twist that makes reality TV look like a bedtime story. This is the same name that once trended next to drama so lauded. Needed subtitles, now suddenly it's prayer circles, community outreach, and a news package polished enough to make your grandma nod in approval. It felt like someone leaked a deleted episode from an alternate timeline where scandal met salvation and shook hands on camera, and just like that, the culture froze mid-scroll. Because whether you believe it's redemption, reinvention, or the slickest rebrand since celebrities discovered wellness podcasts, one thing is clear: this headline didn't whisper, it roared. The moment the segment aired on CBS News Baltimore, timelines across every platform lit up like someone had dropped a surprise album at midnight. Viewers weren't just surprised, they were disoriented. Because the same Chrisean Rock who built a reputation on explosive headlines was suddenly being framed in a calm, community-centered news package about faith and outreach. The anchors delivered it with polished seriousness, not a hint of sarcasm, not a smirk in sight. And that seriousness is what made it feel seismic. To understand why this hit so hard, you have to rewind the tape. Chrisean's public persona has never been subtle, soft, or easily boxed into something predictable. From viral altercations to a roller coaster relationship saga with Blueface, her name became synonymous with volatility that felt more like a reality show marathon than real life. Every week seemed to bring a new headline, a new clip, a new debate about accountability and chaos. She wasn't just trending, she was dominating the algorithm like it owed her rent. So when Holy Hands entered the chat, the cultural whiplash was immediate. The segment described it as a faith-driven initiative rooted in prayer, spiritual growth, and community presence in Baltimore. Instead of shouting matches and viral arguments, viewers saw footage of prayer circles, emotional speeches, and talk of transformation. The tone shift was so sharp it felt like switching from a boxing match to a Sunday sermon without warning. And people didn't know whether to clap, question, or clutch their pearls. Baltimore adds another layer to this unfolding drama. This isn't just any city, it's home territory. It's origin story energy. When someone returns to their hometown talking about change, it carries symbolic weight whether you're a believer or a skeptic. It frames the narrative as coming full circle, not just climbing a new ladder. That hometown angle gave the story depth that a random location never could. But here's where the tension really started building. The internet has a memory sharper than a courtroom stenographer. Within minutes of the broadcast, users began pulling up past clips, old interviews, and controversial moments like evidence in a trial. Comment sections turned into debates about authenticity versus strategy. Some argued that growth is real and public transformation deserves room. Others insisted that timing in the celebrity world is never accidental. Because let's be honest, rebranding is practically a rite of passage in fame culture. We've seen pop stars pivot to country, actors reinvent themselves as activists, and influencers suddenly discover minimalism after years of flexing luxury lifestyles. Reinvention isn't shocking anymore, it's expected. What made this different was the platform. A blog post about spiritual change is one thing. A professionally edited news segment broadcast to thousands of households, that's another level. The language used in the coverage mattered too. The focus wasn't on scandal recovery or controversy cleanup. It centered on outreach, faith, and impact. That framing subtly told viewers, this isn't gossip, this is community news, and that distinction is powerful. It moves the story from entertainment to something that feels socially relevant. Still, skepticism hovered like a storm cloud that refused to clear. Critics questioned whether one initiative could outweigh years of public turbulence. They dissected body language, tone, and timing like they were analyzing a championship replay. Social media doesn't just consume stories anymore, it autopsies them. Every smile, every pause, every word choice becomes a data point in the court of public opinion. Supporters, however, weren't backing down. They flooded timelines with messages about redemption, personal growth, and the right to evolve. They pointed out that no one is frozen in their worst moment forever. They argued that public figures are allowed to mature without being chained to their past. And that debate, redemption versus reputation, became the heartbeat of the entire conversation. The term holy hands itself sparked curiosity. It sounded symbolic, almost theatrical. It evoked imagery of healing, prayer, and transformation for some. It felt sincere and powerful. For others, it sounded like branding. Genius wrapped in spirituality. That duality kept people talking long after the segment ended. Meanwhile, traditional audiences who don't scroll social media every hour were being introduced to a version of Chrisean that looked composed and reflective. That exposure broadened her narrative beyond viral clips and chaotic soundbites. When your story reaches living rooms instead of just timelines, perception shifts in subtle but meaningful ways. It's the difference between being a trending topic and being a community figure. The tension didn't just simmer online, it expanded into podcasts and commentary channels dissecting the move. Analysts debated whether this was a genuine spiritual awakening or a calculated evolution. Pop culture thrives on narrative arcs, and this felt like the opening chapter of a redemption saga. The only question was whether it would hold. One undeniable fact emerged from the noise: people were paying attention. Whether they believed in the transformation or doubted it entirely, they were engaged. Engagement is oxygen in the world of fame. Silence is irrelevance, and this was anything but silent. The segment reignited conversation in a way few celebrity pivots managed to do. What made it even more dramatic was the contrast. When someone known for volatility appears in a context of faith and community, the juxtaposition magnifies everything. It forces audiences to reconcile to images that don't easily overlap. That cognitive dissonance is compelling. It keeps viewers hooked, waiting to see which version becomes dominant. As the hours passed, the initial shock evolved into something deeper: curiosity. People wanted to know what sparked this shift. Was it personal reflection, motherhood, burnout, faith, rediscovered, or something else entirely? The broadcast didn't dive into every detail, which only fueled speculation. And speculation is the internet's favorite sport. By the end of the first wave of reactions, one thing was crystal clear: this wasn't a fleeting viral moment that would evaporate by the next news cycle. It felt like the beginning of a narrative recalibration. Whether it leads to sustained transformation or another unexpected twist remains to be seen. But the headline alone was enough to remind everyone watching that in the world of celebrity culture, the script can flip without warning. And when it does, you either adapt to the new storyline or get left arguing with yesterday's version of the plot. Almost immediately after the CBS Baltimore segment went live, the social media universe exploded like someone had thrown a Molotov cocktail into a comment section. Memes were rolling in faster than the news ticker itself, each one wilder than the last. One showed Chrisean Rock with angel wings photoshopped over her signature fierce stare, captioned, "Before holy hands, after holy hands." Another had her holding a glowing halo like it was a Grammy. And yet another edited her into famous biblical paintings with the text, "Modern-day prophet." The creativity and the sheer audacity was staggering. The internet had officially decided that Chrisean wasn't just trending. She was cultural property, meme royalty, and sermon material all rolled into one chaotic icon. Meanwhile, celebrity reactions started trickling in like a slow, spicy leak. A few pop stars posted cryptic Instagram stories with captions like "Transformation comes in mysterious ways," while reality TV stars tweeted one-liners that practically screamed shade. Some of us really do glow up overnight, and some just glow in filters. The subtweets alone sent fans scrambling to figure out the targets. People live for this stuff. It's the juicy, gossip-laden gossip that keeps timelines scrolling and fingers tapping. Within hours, every major platform was lighting up with reactions, takes, and heated debates. What makes this scenario outrageous is the tension between authenticity and strategy. Chrisean's history is as public as it is chaotic. Viral fights, high-profile relationship drama, and explosive social media posts have defined her public persona for years. Now she's suddenly being framed in a halo-lit narrative about spiritual growth. For skeptics, it felt almost comically strategic, the kind of calculated move our team dreams about in their sleep. For believers, it was inspirational, a real-life redemption story unfolding on TV. Either way, the conversation had shifted entirely, and nobody could look away. Memes weren't the only fuel for the frenzy. The celebrity commentary created ripples in unexpected directions. Fans began analyzing body language, speech patterns, and even wardrobe choices from the segment, as though Chrisean's outfit color choices could indicate sincerity levels. Every word she spoke was replayed, clipped, and scrutinized like evidence in a courtroom drama. Her calm, measured tone stood in stark contrast to the explosive reputation she built online. It was like watching a lightning bolt slow down in midair. Mesmerizing, confusing, and impossible to ignore. Pop culture comparisons started flying almost immediately. One commenter on Twitter remarked, "This makes the Kardashians look boring," and suddenly that became a baseline for cultural conversation. Another said, "It's like Tony Stark discovered prayer circles," and yet another suggested, "Imagine RuPaul hosting church service with Chrisean as the pastor." The analogies were outrageous, hyperbolic, and exactly the kind of over-the-top humor that keeps digital audiences engaged. People couldn't resist leaning into the absurdity while still taking the story seriously. It's the rare combo of entertainment, suspense, and controversy that makes content go viral. And then, of course, the debate over sincerity intensified. Some critics pointed to the timing, arguing that a celebrity with a history of drama turning to spiritual messaging was almost always a tactical move. Others insisted that everyone deserves a growth narrative and that Chrisean's efforts could be genuine. The tension between skepticism and belief turned comment sections into battlefields. Threads erupted with heated arguments, and journalists started picking up on the conversation, framing the story not just as a celebrity pivot but as a cultural phenomenon. Meanwhile, online chatter about the Baltimore context added another layer of complexity. Fans highlighted that Chrisean returning to her hometown for this initiative wasn't a coincidence. It was symbolic. Roots, origin stories, redemption arcs, it all clicked into place. Local pride fueled enthusiasm, while outsiders marveled at the unexpected combination of scandalous celebrity and sincere hometown outreach. The juxtaposition was absurd, thrilling, and just chaotic enough to dominate both social feeds and mainstream coverage simultaneously. The social media storm also gave rise to instant parodies and reaction videos. YouTube creators made compilations of Chrisean's past drama contrasted with her new Holy Hands clips, complete with dramatic music and sarcastic commentary. TikTok users danced in prayer circles, lip-synced sermons, and edited themselves into fake news intros announcing the revival of Chrisean Rock. The creativity was non-stop, each clip adding fuel to the fire and amplifying the conversation. In many ways, the online community was producing the story faster than traditional media could cover it. Celebrity podcasts, talk shows, and online influencers also joined the fray, Analysts debated whether Chrisean's pivot was genuine, PR-driven, or a little bit of both. Every statement was parsed, every social post analyzed. One host compared it to a Netflix series where the villain suddenly becomes the protagonist. Without a single warning episode, and the comparison stuck. The audience loved it because it framed a real-life scenario as dramatic entertainment. And let's face it, in today's celebrity ecosystem, reality is often stranger than fiction. Even mainstream news outlets outside of Baltimore started reporting on the viral ripple effect. They highlighted the memes, celebrity reactions, and social media debates, framing Chrisean's transformation as more than a local story. Suddenly, a single broadcast segment had transcended regional coverage and entered the national consciousness. The narrative had shifted from viral scandal to cultural conversation, and everyone wanted to weigh in. At the heart of this frenzy was the tension between old habits and new behavior. Chrisean Rock has a history that could fuel endless commentary, and the internet loves to revisit the past. Clips of fights, viral arguments, and controversial posts resurfaced, juxtaposed against her calm, composed appearance in the CBS segment. That contrast made the story irresistible. It wasn't just news, it was a narrative clash, a live experiment in public perception. Every reaction, whether skeptical or supportive, contributed to a cultural moment that felt larger than anyone. Platformed. As the hours turned into days, the story continued evolving. Fans created hashtags, celebrities commented in coded ways, and analysts speculated on what might come next. The narrative was alive, unpredictable, and utterly captivating. It was a mix of drama, humor, skepticism, and awe, the perfect recipe for viral sensation. At its core, the Holy Hands saga became more than just a story about one celebrity. It became a case study in public perception, media framing, and the wild power of internet culture. Chrisean Rock had managed to shock, confuse, and inspire all at once. She forced skeptics to engage, believers to rally, and the casual observer to stop scrolling. And in today's digital landscape, capturing attention this fiercely is nothing short of mastery. By the end of this wave, one thing was undeniable. Whether you're team believer, team skeptic, or team meme, nobody could look away. The transformation, the coverage, and the chaos had created a cultural event. Social media was buzzing, celebrities were hinting at opinions without fully revealing them, and analysts were breaking down every nuance. Chrisean Rock had turned a single broadcast into a phenomenon. And the story wasn't slowing down anytime. Soon, the combination of celebrity intrigue, hometown roots, spiritual messaging, and viral engagement created a perfect storm. And in a world where attention spans are short and trends are fleeting, Chrisean had pulled off something rare. She made everyone care about her next move. The memes, commentary, and debate weren't just entertainment, they were proof that her narrative had penetrated deep into both pop culture and public conversation. The aftermath of the reactions only fueled anticipation for what might come next. Would Chrisean maintain the spiritual trajectory? Would skeptics eventually win the narrative battle? Or would there be another dramatic twist that redefined her public persona entirely? The unpredictability is what keeps people glued to their screens, refreshing feeds, and debating endlessly. In essence, the Baltimore CBS segment had done more than announce an initiative. It had sparked a cultural event, an online spectacle, and a public experiment in how celebrity, controversy, and perceived sincerity collide. Every reaction, every meme, every celebrity whisper was part of the unfolding drama. And as the story spread across platforms, one thing became clear: Chrisean Rock wasn't just trending. She had become the epicenter of a nationwide conversation that refused to die down. The tension, the absurdity, and the humor made it impossible to scroll past. People wanted more, debated harder, and shared faster than ever before. In just a few hours, Chrisean Rock had gone from viral drama to cultural mainstay. And the world was watching not with judgment, but with rapt attention. The stage was set for what comes next. and the story was only beginning to unravel. Almost immediately, the aftermath of Chrisean Rock's CBS Baltimore feature began reshaping her public image in ways few expected. The social media storm didn't just simmer down, it evolved into a fully fledged narrative about redemption, strategy, and celebrity reinvention. Comment sections. Once battlegrounds of skepticism and memes became platforms for reflection and debate, some fans hailed her as a genuine symbol of personal growth, highlighting her commitment to outreach and prayer circles. Others insisted that a single news segment couldn't erase years of viral chaos. And yet, the conversation itself, heated, chaotic, and relentless, cemented the fact that Chrisean's narrative had entered a new league entirely. Celebrity circles reacted in whispers and subtweets, carefully calculated to tease rather than expose. A few reality TV stars hinted at admiration for the pivot, while others maintained their snarky tone, posting cryptic messages that left followers scrambling to decode the targets. Even talk show hosts and online analysts jumped in, debating whether the transformation was authentic, a tactical PR move, or something in between. The commentary highlighted one undeniable truth: the tension between authenticity and performance had never been this visible in a mainstream context. Every public statement, every subtle gesture, became part of a larger, ongoing narrative that audiences couldn't stop analyzing. Meanwhile, the memes kept coming, but their tone shifted. Early memes were absurd and humorous, emphasizing the juxtaposition of her past chaos and current spiritual focus. Later ones became celebratory, almost reverent, casting her as a pop culture prophet with a halo, wings, or ropes photoshopped over her iconic look. These images spread faster than news articles, serving as modern folklore for a digital generation. The virality wasn't just about humor. It was proof that her influence was now both entertaining and culturally significant. Public perception began to fracture into multiple layers. Longtime skeptics clung to old narratives, digging up viral fights, controversial statements, and relationship drama. Supporters, meanwhile, leaned into the narrative of transformation, citing the Baltimore outreach, public prayers, and community engagement as evidence that she was more than her past mistakes. And then there was the neutral majority, watching the spectacle unfold with fascination, ready to pivot their opinions based on the next headline. It was like observing a live experiment in celebrity reinvention, with audiences as participants and Chrisean as the unpredictable variable. The mainstream media amplified the effect. Other news outlets began covering the story, emphasizing not only the CBS segment, but also the social media phenomenon that followed. Analysts framed it as a significant cultural moment. A celebrity notorious for drama had successfully crossed into the realm of faith and community without losing her relevance. That balance, chaotic past meets legitimate present, is nearly impossible to achieve, yet. The coverage confirmed that Chrisean had captured the spotlight in a way that commanded national attention. Leaving other media figures scrambling to respond, Baltimore itself became central to the narrative. Local pride surged as the city watched one of its most notorious figures return and reshape her image in public view. Community reactions highlighted both admiration and cautious optimism. Faith-based organizations, churches, and local activists noted the potential impact of her outreach, praising the attention brought to community engagement. Simultaneously, skeptics questioned whether the efforts were long-term or simply a fleeting spotlight. That tension made the story feel alive, dynamic, and entirely unpredictable. The long-term consequences for Chrisean's reputation began crystallizing. Traditional fans who loved her for the chaos now faced a cognitive dissonance. How do you reconcile a figure who once thrived on scandal with a newfound focus on faith and community service? Some dropped her, unwilling to accept the change. Others doubled down in support, viewing her as a symbol of resilience and growth. The polarizing effect mirrored the pattern of celebrity redemption arcs seen in the likes of pop stars, actors, and influencers, but with Chrisean's signature intensity magnifying every reaction. On social media, the conversation evolved from past versus present debates to speculation about what comes next. Will Chrisean continue her spiritual trajectory? Will she return to the chaos that made her infamous? Or is this just the first episode of a more complex narrative designed to keep audiences guessing? The uncertainty itself became a compelling feature, ensuring that her name remained trending long after the CBS segment aired. Fans and critics alike found themselves obsessively checking timelines for updates, reactions, and potential leaks. The interplay between memes, mainstream coverage, and celebrity commentary created a feedback loop that amplified her influence. Memes fed commentary, commentary fed analysis, and analysis fed more memes. The phenomenon illustrated a modern truth. In today's media landscape, virality is multidimensional. Chrisean's narrative wasn't just trending. It had become a meta-commentary on celebrity culture itself, demonstrating how public perception, media framing, and online humor can intersect to produce something far larger than the original story. Meanwhile, the long-term implications for her relationships and professional alliances became a hot topic. Collaborators, former associates, and industry insiders watched closely, assessing whether this pivot could affect partnerships, brand deals, and creative projects. Some saw opportunity. Others saw risk. The ripple effects extended beyond personal branding into business decisions, industry perception, and networking dynamics. Every move became consequential, magnified by the fact that audiences were watching in real time, ready to interpret intentions and outcomes. Ultimately, the CBS Baltimore coverage achieved what few celebrity moments do. It reshaped the narrative. While maintaining suspense, it forced audiences, critics, and celebrities to reconsider preconceived notions about Chrisean Rock, whether perceived as a genuine spiritual awakening, a strategic rebrand, or a complex mix of both. The story remained compelling because it was unpredictable. Audiences were left not only with fascination, but also with anticipation, the knowledge that the next chapter could upend expectations again. By the end of the aftermath, one conclusion was unavoidable: Chrisean had achieved cultural relevance on multiple levels simultaneously. She dominated social media, influenced mainstream media narratives, sparked celebrity commentary, and left audiences eagerly awaiting the next move. Her story had become a living, evolving spectacle, blending redemption, controversy, humor, and strategic calculation. And just like any great cliffhanger, it promised that the drama, the chaos, and the public fascination were far from over. In a world where attention is currency, Chrisean Rock had managed to turn a single broadcast into a phenomenon that reverberated across platforms, demographics, and social contexts. The balance of chaos, authenticity, and spectacle ensured that she remained the center of conversation. And as the story continues to unfold, one thing is certain: Chrisean's Holy Hands moment isn't just a news segment. It's a cultural event, a viral sensation, and a masterclass in keeping an audience captivated, all while leaving enough mystery to guarantee that viewers, fans, and critics alike will be watching closely for what comes next. Now, I want to hear from you, yes, you, because this is exactly the kind of chaos that belongs in the comments. Do you think Chrisean Rock's Holy Hands moment is a true redemption arc, or the slickest rebrand since celebrities discovered influencer wellness trends? Drop your hottest takes, your wildest opinions, and don't hold back. This is the only place where the drama gets dissected without filters, judgment, or apology. And while you're at it, smash that like button like it owes you rent, bills, and every unread notification in your phone. Make it hurt. Make it loud. Let the algorithm know that chaos tastes like engagement and scandal smells like clicks. Share this video with that one friend who swore they'd never believe Chrisean could go mainstream without a fight, because this is exactly the moment they need to witness. And if you're new here, buckle up, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, because this channel lives for the outrageous, the unthinkable, and the moments that make the news blink twice. Every scandal, every twist, every eyebrow-raising headline drops here first, dissected with the sarcasm, humor, and dramatics that your timeline craves, but mainstream media can't deliver. Remember, in the world of celebrity, calm is rare, chaos is expected, and surprises are inevitable. Chrisean Rock just reminded us all that anything can happen, from viral drama to faith-fueled headlines, and if you blink, you'll miss the next insane plot twist. So stay tuned, stay loud, and stay obsessed, because this story isn't over. The memes are just warming up, and celeb insanity guarantees your feed will never be boring again.